We're talking about how to honor your ego and thank the universe for lessons. My name is Jen Casey. I am a business strategy coach, and I work with online entrepreneurs who want to go from social media to sales. I'm also the host of the Social Media to Sales podcast, and that's why I really want to talk tonight about this idea that a business can only grow as far or as quickly as the person who is running it. So check in on that for a second and really ask yourself, what is your level of commitment to growth? We've really got to get real with ourselves, get really real with ourselves about our commitment, right? Because I would say, and I'm in this camp, I got my hand raised, that the majority of us, if not all of us, are playing a little bit small. All of us are. Every single one of us is playing a little bit small. How many of you listening right now know in your gut that you could turn it up a little bit? You could turn up the dial. You could just shift that needle a little bit 10 degrees and boom, open up a whole new experience in your business, a whole new level of serving, a whole new level of epicness, right? The growth is happening now. We don't have to say, oh, when I'm waiting for something to happen. You can start taking control of this right now, and I'm glad that you're here to do that. So I wanted to share with you my mantra of the year is, how can I approach whatever the situation is, fill in the blank, how can I approach this from a place of love and abundance? Because as all of us, my ego likes to get in the way. And your ego essentially is there to protect you. And there's many different definitions of the ego, but even if we're taking the Freud definition, it's there because it wants to protect us. But for those of you who are into manifestation and the law of attraction, you likely already have a deep sense of knowing, a deep understanding that we create our own realities. And so we have to be able to release that ego and learn how to trust a little bit more instead of overthinking and overanalyzing and getting ourselves into that state of paralysis, right? And I want you to know that just like you, as a business owner, I am tested daily. And in the early days of my business, I remember when I was first growing my online business, I remember doing network marketing. Whew, man, oh man, one thing would go wrong. This is early days. This is 2011. I would hear a no, and I'm sure most of you have evolved past this a little bit, but I would hear no, and it was it's over. No one wants my stuff. Nobody likes me. I'm a loser. But I didn't stop, right? I kept figuring out, okay, how do I evolve past this? How do I become better? And I really encourage you to really sit with that. Sit with it, for 90 seconds, for 10 minutes, whatever you need to do to build that muscle. And don't swallow your tears. You're allowed to cry. We need to let it out. We need to acknowledge, how am I feeling in this moment? Really honor why we're being triggered in that moment. So somebody says no to you. They say, I don't want your product. I don't want to work with you. We get upset and we go, well, why is that triggering me, right? So that's number one. We've really got to honor and acknowledge those triggers when they come through, because they're going to come. And the more quickly you grow and the more money you make, the more people you help, the more visible you become, likely the more things you are going to experience when you are, you're going to have more opportunities, because I see them as opportunities for growth. And I remember too, when I was in the early days of my network marketing company, this is probably first 6 months. Listen, I had made $0 in sales, $14, $0 in sales for 3 months straight. It was not cute. It was really frustrating because I was doing the best with the tools that I was given, with what we were all given, right? And I remember going in to class one day at my acting conservatory, and everyone was like, oh, look, it's Mrs. Fitness, because back in 2012, you didn't really post your before and afters on Facebook. That was very taboo. Jen posted a naked picture where she didn't have a six-pack. How dare she? And people were like, oh, it's Mrs. Fit Person, it's Mrs. Shake. And I was just like, why are you guys being dicks? Why? The boys were bullying me playfully, but still, that was a huge trigger for me. And it may be a trigger for you in some way. And it says, you have to ask yourself, okay, if I go back in time and I ask myself, why is that hurting me? Why is that triggering me? I can laugh about it now because I'm like, okay, so what? Because I've grown my mindset. allowed myself to work through that, to sit with it, and to evolve to a place where I'm just like, yeah, so what? Okay, bye. Like, clearly you're not my avatar. But you really got to ask yourself, why is this triggering me? And there may be something you're like, oh, dang, like when I was a kid and I was in second grade and this happened, like these little boy or this little girl, they said this mean thing to me and it made me feel like that little kid again. Now, an interesting perspective for you, when you are a little kid, two parts to this. One, I truly believe that you are just this divinely infinite being and you know that, and so you're confused when you're approached with things that are not pure love. And on the flip side, you have not cognitively, according to psychologists, you have not cognitively developed enough yet. And by that, I almost see it as you have not learned the rules of the road of being a human being in this society, in this world of today's day and age, to be able to filter through that and make sense of it, because it doesn't make sense, and so you become hurt. And then you develop this limiting belief, quote unquote, or this belief, this paradigm that people are mean, don't do something that people don't like, or you're going to be exiled, right? We get all of these patterns, all of these beliefs in our head. And you might not even be fully cognizant, fully conscious that this is something that you are vibrationally attracting continuously into your business, something that you're replaying for yourself. But I think it's so beautiful to be able to say, okay, when I was 6 years old, I wasn't able to understand the lesson that the universe was giving me when so-and-so little boy said this to me. So now, as an adult, you think about it, you're like, cool, that was a 5-year-old that said, you have an ugly face. And forever, you think, I'm an ugly person. And you let that one 5-year-old, like if a 5-year-old said that to you now, would you be as upset as you did when you were 5? Probably not, because your perspective is different. So I encourage you to take your adult brain, fully developed brain, full perspective, knowing what you know now, and take a moment to go back in time. Take a moment, and this is something that you can do when you're sitting down, when you've got your journal. I think this is a great prompt. Go back in time and really think, okay, if that was something that triggered me, and it's bringing me back to this specific point in my life, what is the lesson that I need to learn from this experience so that I can grow? Because maybe you didn't have the tools then to reframe and to grow when you were 6, so you can do it now. Isn't that awesome? And it's just such a fascinating thing. I've been doing a little bit of this work myself, and I'm just finding so many incredible breakthroughs. You know, I think one of the greatest lessons that anyone can learn, and something that takes, or at least for me, took a little bit of grinding away spiritually, of really developing a practice and a muscle to reframe and refocus when I'm approached with challenges, struggles, people who I butt heads with. It's like when they go low, when they're being whatever, when they've got their ego out ready to fight, you go high. Like you can't lose. When you go high, you can't lose. And you know, if you allow yourself to be deterred from your mission and your purpose by all of this other noise, right? All of this other noise, like what would the world look like if we all allowed that to happen? And what would the world look like if we all stepped out of that, took care of our own being, our own spiritual body, and healed? Like I truly believe there would be no conflict and no chaos and no shit talking and no drama, and everyone would just be like abundantly supportive of each other if we all just like dealt with our shit. Like we need to like check in and just go like, that triggered me. What can I learn from that experience? And listen, I'm not perfect. I'm not up here like, you know, trying to preach or anything, because I'm human too. And I'm so on my spiritual journey right there with you. I mean, seriously, there are some times where things trigger me in my business. It might even be a client. It could be, you know, someone in your network marketing team, somebody who's your downline. I was just talking to somebody the other day where they were like, you know, this is like this person who is my partnership we released and it feels so much better. Like all of these things. It could be your spouse. It could be the boss at work. It could be all this stuff, right? The stuff that's triggering you. Like I get it on such a deep level. We're all human. And I was joking around earlier. I'm like, listen, sometimes Hood Rat Jen wants to come out. For those of you that don't know, when I was 14, I was really super into hip hop, and I used to wear like hoop earrings like that. My sweet friend Diana, she posted it today on my Facebook. So if you want to go see the actual visual of 14-year-old Hood Rat Jen, I look like J-Lo, so go ahead, check it out. It's pretty hilarious. We were dressed up for like we were singing. So we were in costume. I didn't dress like that every day. But anyway, so yeah, Hood Rat Jen, she gets her gloves on, and then it's like, all right, but why? Like, why is this important for me to like go to bat? Why is it important for me to like be ready to fight? Like, how is that actually serving my highest purpose? And I'm sure you've heard the quote before. It's such a good one. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It just doesn't work. And so, yeah, you might go punch somebody in the face. You might go throw some low blows. You might do whatever you need to do. But then it's like, am I going to feel good after I do this? Is my soul going to feel good? Because when we have deep spiritual beliefs and things that, you don't have to be religious. I'm not religious. I'm crazy spiritual though, right? When you are when you have certain things that you know in your core that are you get all tingly, you just get chills when you're like, I create my own reality. Yeah, that feels good. And then you go and do some shit that's totally in conflict with that. Well, you get conflict, and then you create that cognitive dissonance, and you just feel kind of icky, right? And you've got to acknowledge that, right? So you've just got to say to yourself, you have the choice. It is entirely up to you what you do with the tools that you have, with the life that you have. You have the choice to hold on to the stinky, rotting, steamy dump baggage, or you have the choice to release it and go, that doesn't serve my highest purpose. Is it serving me? If it's not, let it go. I mean, we need some Elsa in here, sing some Let It Go, because you just gotta let that shit go. And I get it, like the ego, it wants to protect, it wants to analyze, it wants to make sense of things. And I know, I'm looking at you right now. You probably are that person who's like, but I just want to figure it out. Like, I just want to analyze it. I'm just going to like go back into the past and I'm going to replay all of these things and I'm just going to try to make sense of it. And it's like, you can spend the next 10 years doing that, or you can just decide that it doesn't serve you and shelf it and go, I am making a conscious choice to release any and all things that no longer serve me. Period, end of story. And if new things come up in the future, fine. We're on a forward path. We're not looking backwards, right? So when you feel yourself being triggered, become crazy present in the now, in the moment, disengage from that old story. And what I love to do, which has been really cool, is I thank the universe for another, because there's so many, I thank the universe for the beautiful opportunity to grow, because it's growth. Every single time I'm slammed up against a wall, every single time I'm struggling with something, even if it's something as simple like, I don't know what I want my brand to be, right? It's like, okay, well, time to make my brain hurt. Because when your brain feels like it's on fire, you know that feeling where you were like that kid in 4th grade who was trying to freaking figure out long division and you were like, why is this so hard? Why do I need to know this? And like, you still totally don't need to know that in real life, really. But you learned it, and what happened? You grew from it. So embrace those moments of growth. And thank the universe for those lessons. This is such an amazing practice that I've gotten into, and it has honestly transformed my life. It has transformed the way that I approach sticky, icky situations. Like, I have no regrets because I see everything as a lesson. And it's like, I know exactly where I'm headed. I know my desired end result, and so does the universe. And any little thing that might feel like a detour, it's honestly just the universe saying, like, you're not ready to get there yet. Like, you haven't figured this out yet. You have to relearn this lesson. Because the universe will give you the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until you learn the lesson and change your vibration. Until you learn the lesson and change your vibration. So you just need to decide. You can keep ignoring the thing that's that crazy pattern that just keeps popping up in your life that you just don't want to look at it, you don't want to deal with it. Or you can come and say, like, I surrender, I am ready to be cracked open and learn the lesson. It's gonna feel like shit, or it might, and I'm okay with that. Like, be ready to be cracked open. And don't worry about doing the right thing. Like, business, life, success, it's not a sprint. And I know there's some of you who are like, but I'm really fast, like I can go. It's like, yeah, and then you can also burn out. So you've got to build the muscle to run the marathon. And all of these little hiccups, these bumps in the road, those are your bicep curls. Those are your weighted squats. You're building the muscle to withstand the marathon. It's not a sprint. I mean, I even think, like, you know, it's like you just got to take the next step. There's a beautiful lesson in that. Just take the next step. Stop worrying about the past. Stop worrying about like, well, is this going to work? How is this going to work? Take the next step. When I did Spartan Race a couple of years ago, I was painfully unprepared for that experience. Like, I live in a place where everything is flat, and so I was not prepared for the beginning of Spartan Race. For those of you who have done it, you probably experienced this. The first like mile and a half is just like a straight uphill incline to the point where you're like literally climbing because it's straight up. And my hamstrings, they weren't ready for that. They were super not ready for that because I hadn't trained on any inclines. So I had some really underdeveloped muscles. But I made the decision. I had an amazing team of people with me who were way more qualified to do that race than I was. And they were like, just keep going. Just keep going. And I just kept saying to myself that whole race, just one step in front of, just put the next step, next step, next step, next step. And I was looking at the ground and all I was focused on was getting one foot in front of the other and not falling on my face. And about halfway through the race, I realized that the shoes that I wore were like a half size too big, which was never a problem when I was teaching fitness classes because I wasn't really like moving forward and back. And my insoles were sliding around, things were like folding, like the shoes were way too old. I ended up having to like stop, rip out my insoles. So by the end of the race, now these are shoes a half a size too big. There's so much room in the front. I end up with like two massive, like walnut-sized blisters on both of my front two toes. Like really gross image, I know. But I felt them developing and I'm seeing stars because that shiz is painful. And I remember running the last leg of the race where it's like straight up downhill. Like think about that. When you're downhill, when you're pointed downward, where's all the weight in your foot? It's on your toes. Oh, it's on your toes. And I could like feel, and I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna burst. Oh God, what am I gonna do with these blisters? And I just kept thinking, one step, take another step, just take another step, right? And through that experience of physical pain, I was able to really celebrate myself and say, okay, I did it. I made it through that space, that place of true discomfort, And because of that, I am now stronger, right? And once we go through those experiences where we have that growth, your brain changes. Your brain changes and you rewire things in your brain, right? We don't have to get all sciencey, but things start to change. Things that are triggered, your belief, it expands, it changes shape, and it can never be the same again because you've grown. It can never be the same again. Isn't that freaking amazing? Isn't that exciting? Because it's like everything that you've experienced, all the shit, all the muck, all the sadness, all the whatever, and all the amazing stuff too, all the things that you get to celebrate, it is preparing you for this next level, your next level destiny. It is all preparing you for the marathon, right? Whew. I'm just like all in today. I'm all in on this. Okay, and this last piece that is so stinking important when it comes to really acknowledging yourself is celebrating yourself. You have to celebrate you. I have too many clients, too many people in my circles who are like, oh, but I can't celebrate because I didn't make six figures yet, or I can't celebrate because I didn't hit this rank yet, or I can't celebrate because I only got one client in my program, or I can't celebrate yet because, my significant other hasn't yet acknowledged that this is a real business, and on and on and on and on. And you have all these conditions around when you're allowed to celebrate, right? And we get in our heads that we don't want to tell anybody our vision. We don't want to be excited about it. We're afraid that people are going to take that away from us. And an interesting thought for you is, when you're a little kid and you're blowing out your candles, they say, make a wish, but what? Don't tell anyone or else it won't come true. Right? Crazy. And so that piece is also ingrained in us, that we don't want to tell people about our successes. We don't want to share our vision because we're afraid that we're going to get judged and that it's not going to come true. And so I really want to encourage you to celebrate. And you might be like, well, what does that even mean? Celebrate myself, like, great job, you did it. When I went to Tony Robbins this summer, that was life-changing for me because I had never truly learned how to celebrate my successes. It was like, oh, I got this, on to the next. Oh, I did this, on to the next. Oh, I did this, on to the next. And I never got to sit and say like, you're effing awesome. Like, sorry, I'm trying to be respectful of the moms with, earmuffs. I was like, I'm fucking awesome. And, I didn't whisper it, I screamed it out. I never experienced that before. And so I want to ask you right now, how are you celebrating your wins? How frequently are you celebrating your wins? One thing that I did today, which was really cool, is I grabbed a piece of paper and I said, things I'm excited to celebrate. And I just started writing out all the cool things that I've done, just like in the last 2 weeks. I was like, boom, did this, did that, did this, stepped out of my comfort zone here, grew here, overcame this, all these amazing things that I get to celebrate, right? So how are you celebrating? When I went to Tony, it was like, you get up, like this is what I literally do. I feel like I'm gonna break everything, but bear with me. So this is what I do when I celebrate, right? I really hope I don't knock this over. I'm gonna put you guys my little mic down for a second. When I'm celebrating, I get fully in my body, and I literally jump up and down and I scream, "Woo!" Right? I jump up and down and I scream on top of my lungs because I want to celebrate all of the amazing things that are happening in my life. Like literally on top of my lungs, jumping up and down, because life is freaking awesome. And you get to celebrate them. You get to celebrate all the cool shit that you're doing. And I want you to ask yourself, when is the last time you said to yourself, like, oh, I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you. If you're listening to this right now, I want to challenge you. Put your hand over your heart and just say, I'm proud of me, and I don't say that enough. I'm proud of you, and I don't say that enough. You are fucking awesome. How does that feel? How does it feel to do that? So don't wait for bigger reasons to celebrate. Every single little milestone in your business is an amazing reason to celebrate. And even if you don't have big wins in your business, being alive, breathing in air, that's a reason to celebrate. Having your eyeballs seeing the world in color, that's a reason to celebrate. Okay? That's what I have for you guys tonight. And so before we close out, 2 quick announcements. One, if you're not already inside the Facebook group Intuitive Boss Babes, come hang on Facebook. You can simply go to heyjencasey.com/group and come and join the party. And another big announcement that I'm really excited to share with you and celebrate is I have officially opened enrollment for the Soulful Sales Academy. It is a 4-month intimate coaching program where I'm going to be taking you through from front to back all of the things that you need to know to build a profitable online business. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can shoot me over a message. And you can head to soulfulsalesacademy.com to read over all the program details and all that. And shoot me a message on Facebook. You can send me over an email if you have any questions about if it's the right fit for you. Happy to chat with you. So yes, oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you guys so much. And if this was powerful, please tag a friend below, hit the share button, give this to somebody that you love, and share the ahas, right? It's all about passing on, creating that ripple effect that we can all just level up and step into our brilliance. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and I'll hopefully see you inside the Facebook group.